Verses of Destiny. When Natalia entered that bookstore, she did not imagine that her life would change forever. She was looking for a book to give as a gift, but she found something else. A man with a book in his hands. And a look that caught her in an instant. Looking for a special story? He asked, with a sideways smile. Natalia raised an eyebrow, amused. All the stories are special in the correct hands. He closed the book he was holding and looked at her with interest. Perhaps something else is missing. Oh, yes. And what would that be? The man cleared his throat and, without warning, recited. Between pages and dreams perdidos, born loves never read. If destiny and letters wanted to unite us, isn't it time to let it flow? Natalia blinked, surprised. Do you always speak in poetry? He smiled. Only when the inspiration deserves it. And by the way he looked at her, Natalia knew that he wasn't reciting those verses at random. A game of words and feelings. His name was Sebastián, and he was a writer. Natalia. Cool. And he had always loved literature. He felt his heart leap upon discovering his passion for words. Every afternoon they met in the bookstore. He recited verses to her. She tried to yield to its charm. If life has placed us in the same story, if it gives us this sweet memory, isn't it worth letting ourselves be carried away and without fear continuing this page? Don't play with fire, Sebastián. He warned her, although her gaze reflected the storm he awakened within her. He looked at her intensely. It's not a game if I'm already burning. And then, one day, it happened. Inevitable. Upon leaving the bookstore, while walking through the illuminated plaza, Sebastián took her face in his hands and kissed her. It was a kiss of verses, of sighs, of all the unspoken words. And at that moment, Natalia knew there was no turning back. When love faces reality. But love is not always a perfect poem. One day, Natalia received news that left her, "Oh, how cold." "They offered me a job in another city," she whispered, her heart in her throat. Sebastián looked at her silently, as if his own words had gotten stuck in his throat. "What are you going to do?" "It's a great opportunity." He swallowed. "And what about us?" Natalia looked away. "I don't know if this..." Her voice trembled. "I don't know if this can survive the distance." Sebastián approached and took her hand. "If love is wind, and also sea, if time separates us, if it wants to erase us, isn't it enough just to believe? If there is true love, it will make it reborn." She closed her eyes, feeling her heart break in two. The last page. The hours passed, the days flew by, and Natalia felt the weight of the decision on her chest. Sebastián didn't insist. Not he pressed her. He only loved her in silence, as only a poet knows how to do. Until the moment arrived. The bus was ready, her suitcase packed, but her heart had not yet decided. He was. Then, among the crowd at the station, he heard a voice that quickened his pulse. If a goodbye is pronounced with pain, if the soul cries and does so in its honor, will it not be that love does not ask Arizon, but only a leap, without fear, without dread? Natalia turned on her feet. There he was, with eyes full of love, with the promise of a future in his gaze. "Don't go," Sebastián whispered. And she, with tears in her eyes and a smile on her lips, dropped her ticket to the ground. "I never wanted to leave." And then she ran into his arms, where love had always been waiting for her. And, from the history, write us what type of stories you want.